Welcome to a special episode today. You've heard us talk before on this podcast and on these videos about investing in your health. How we can put tons of money in 401ks and IRAs and save up a bunch, but if we don't take care of ourselves physically, we can end up draining those accounts on healthcare expenses just to get back to even instead of really living our best life and being able to enjoy retirement and really have a successful retirement. So part of having a successful retirement is being able to enjoy it, being able to do the things that we want to do and with the people that we want to do them with. And a big factor that reduces our success in retirement, our fulfillment in retirement, is our physical health. If we're not healthy, it can ruin all of our retirement. If we are, we can enjoy a much richer and fuller retirement. And so if our goal here is to help you retire successfully and stay successfully retired, which you know that it is, then we need to be thinking about not just the finances, but also the health side of money. So we've talked about it before, right? That one of the things that we should invest in addition to retirement accounts, is investing in your health. In fact, episode 71, 72, and 73 talked about investing in your health instead of just in your health insurance and to make those good investments. But I want to give you a tangible way to do that. And I recently met a man named Kyle Case who runs the Senior Games. This is a national event that happens every year where folks over 50 can come together and compete, and there are numerous benefits to doing that. And so just the more I learn about it, the cooler I think that this program is, that this event is. And instead of just giving you ideas or inspirations of things to do, like invest in your health, I want to give you a practical way that you could do that. And so rather than explaining what the Senior Games are and how to do that, I decided just to have Kyle on the podcast. And so for today's podcast, it's going to be an interview with me and Kyle. We don't do this a lot, but I thought it'd be fun to switch it up and do this. I'm not getting paid. I don't get any kickbacks or anything from doing this. I just really think the Senior Games are awesome, and I wanted to give you guys a glimpse into what that would be. So stick around. Kyle shares some great stories, explains what it is, shares some great stories from the game, some great benefits that will help you in your retirement, and we'll go from there. So we'll just play the interview, and then I'll come back on at the end just for some closing thoughts. Hope you enjoy this interview with Kyle Case. Well, Kyle, thanks for coming on the Retirement Mentorship Podcast today. Super happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Freeman. What a pleasure and an honor. I'm really looking forward to our visit.
Yeah, so I already sort of introduced you in the games in my intro here, but why don't you just tell us what is the Huntsman World Senior Games and how did they get started? How did you come to this whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. The World Senior Games, the Huntsman World Senior Games, is an Olympic-style sporting event. So, think of the Olympics. There's multiple sports. Our event just happens to be for athletes over the age of 50, and that is the only requirement. There's not anything else. You don't have to go to somewhere else and then qualify and then come to our event. It's an open event, so it's available to everyone. The only requirement is that you be over the age of 50. And it's actually the largest event of its kind in the world for athletes over the age of 50. We host almost 12,000 athletes every year. We have 36 different sports that are offered, and it always takes place in St. George, Utah. And we do it every October, and it's just a great event, opportunity for people to set some goals and work towards those, but also to be engaged and active and physically fit. And it's just an amazing, wonderful program. It actually started, Freeman, in 1987. That was the first year that we took place. And since then, we've just grown and expanded and, again, become the largest multi-sport event in the world for athletes over the age of 50. And we just, love what we do here. We want to eligible to come and be a part of it. It's just an amazing, fun, spectacular event, if I can use all those superlatives in one sentence.
That's awesome. So where are these and when, is it coming up here? When's the next one? Is this an annual thing? How often does this happen?
It is. It's an annual event. It happens every October. And a lot of events like ours will bounce around to different locations. Ours actually stays in the same place. So we're in St. George, Utah, which is in just the southwest corner of the state. It's about an hour and a half north of Las Vegas. We're actually closer to Vegas than we are to the Salt Lake City. So a lot of people will fly in directly to St. George. We do have a regional airport here, but many people will actually fly into Las Vegas and then get a car and then drive on up and take advantage of Vegas on both ends of the games, but then also the games themselves, and then some of the amazing amenities that are available here in our area too. So we've got, we're like an hour away from Zion National Park. We've got state parks, just an amazing array of opportunities to participate in the sporting event of your choice for sure, but also to just enjoy the hiking and the shopping and the dining of a pretty amazing area.
That's awesome. So yeah, tell us so what kind of sports are there, and what can you compete in?
Yeah, so we offer, like I said, 36 different sports. So if you can think of a sport, we're probably offering it. Every once in a while, I'm surprised by kind of a fringe sport that I've never heard of or never considered before. But we have everything from archery to volleyball. We have many of the traditional Olympic sports. So your basketball, volleyball, track and field, swimming. We have a few kind of fun and unique specialized sports. We offer pickleball. That's become such a big thing. It's not even really considered a specialized or a fringe sport anymore. It's on ESPN and all over the place now. We were one of the very early adapters of pickleball. So we've been offering pickleball for 20 years at our event. But we offer that. We have badminton, tennis, table tennis, just a wide variety of sports, and they're all listed on our website, seniorgames.net. And you can go through and kind of see what's available. We've got 5Ks and 10Ks, and we've got a triathlon. So almost anything that you're interested in, whether it's an individual sport or a team sport, we're offering it, and you can come and be a part of it.
Fantastic. So it makes sense too if you let's say you do some running, right? You're investing in your health. You're an avid runner just to stay healthy, and you're like, oh, that'd be cool to I think for a lot of people, it's easier to maintain a healthy habit if we also have some end goal at the end, right? So a lot of people will train for a marathon or train for a half marathon, and just like having that out there as an event helps keep you on track to staying consistent on those things. In the same way that having retirement on the horizon keeps you on track to saving what you need to do to get there. And so that would make sense that a lot of people could then shift into something like this, where we're going to run for the games and compete against other people in our levels. But how does that work with like the team sports? Can people register as a team? Do you just register as an individual and you just get paired up with people when you're there and you try to figure it out, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, great questions. I love that you said having a goal to work towards makes a difference. It absolutely does. I know I try to work out. I try to stay healthy. Sometimes I'm doing better than other times, like everybody. But I know that every time in my life when I've had a goal that I'm working towards, it definitely makes a difference. And our athletes tell us the same thing. So there is real power in that. Many of our athletes comment that it gives them a reason to wake up. They get up in the morning, they shake off the night and the aches and pains or whatever, put on their running shoes, grab their swim goggles, whatever it is, and they go out and they practice and they train so that they can be prepared for October and the World Senior Games. So that's an easy one for individual athletes. Our teams are actually a ton of fun as well. In fact, our biggest sport is actually senior softball. Oh. And so we're going to have almost 350 softball teams that are going to compete over the couple of weeks of the games. And so the way that our registration works is teams reserve their spot. So a team captain or a coach will go in and reserve their spot so that we know that they're coming. And then the individual athletes will go in and register as individuals with a team number. And then that puts those teams together. So we don't, randomly build the teams. You're actually coming as a team. The team that you're playing on. But you do register as an individual athlete, and then you're connected with that team. And then the captain can watch that roster grow and make sure that everybody gets in and is connected in the right way.
Well, it seems like a great way, because I know like a lot of my clients will, a lot play pickleball. That'd be one, and they got their pairs or something like that. A lot are in like a church softball league that's for like people over 45 or over 50 or something. And so that becomes like a whole nother level of, hey, if locally, you're playing regularly together in a softball team, and just locally there's just not a lot of, maybe there's 4 teams locally, and so you're just kind of sick of playing the same people. Like, what a great way then to kind of set a bigger challenge out there for you. Hey, we can still play with the same people, but let's all go to this together. Great, community, great relationship building time together as well, but then also to have that competition, have that fun, and that is it like a tournament style then for a lot of these, or how do they
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, every sport is going to be just a little bit different depending
yeah,
on the sport and the venues and all those kinds of things. But we're talking about team sports. Softball is a great example. With that number of teams, we divide everybody up by age group. So we start at 50, 50 to 54, 55 to 59. So 5-year age groups all the way on up to, we have teams that are in their 80s that compete at the games.
awesome.
But we also divide, as much as we possibly can, we divide people up by skill level as well. So, if you're talking about a recreational team that, maybe plays, at the 4th of July tournament, and that's the only thing they do in their community, come on out to the World Senior Games, because we've got a bunch of teams that do that as well. But we also have teams that take their softball very seriously, and they're travel teams, and they travel all around the United States. And every weekend they're at a different tournament, who, make sure that they're free and available in October to come and be a part of the World Senior Games too. And then everybody in the middle too, so we've got the really expert athletes, we've got the very recreational or just beginners, and then everything in between. And that is across the board, not just in the team sports or not just in softball, but we try to do that as much as possible for our individual sports as well. And some don't lend themselves quite as easily to that, but wherever it's possible, we divide it up by skill level. Of course, the age group is easy, so that's a given, but that skill level can make a real difference and really give you a great experience, because you're coming with a legitimate potential opportunity at a medal. There's no guarantees. Not everybody gets to take home a medal, but
Sure.
you're definitely coming with a legitimate shot at it.
That's awesome. Well, and for those of you who've been listening to my podcast for a while, that I'm big on investing in health, right? Not just we just spend money on health insurance. We can spend money on trying to get back from being sick. But we're always better off, right, choosing to proactively invest in healthy things than just try to recover what's been lost. And so we've talked about it a lot on this podcast of choosing to do healthy things, and the other things we've talked about before is the things that really make for a great retirement are things that make for a great life, which is great relationships with people, having energy and health and vitality, and not just slogging through life, and a lot of these things. And that's why when I actually found you guys, I found your podcast, that's why I wanted to do this connection, because I just felt like, man, what a great way to really build in a lot of these things, great relationships with people that I'm sure you build at an event like that, especially if you're going with your spouse, if you're playing pickleball together, or
Yeah.
you're going with a team, or you're just going to even if you're just going to race by yourself. I'm sure you still meet people and maybe even forge some of these lifelong relationships. But it gives you something, right, just bigger to shoot for, that to be healthy with, to build these relationships. At the end of the day, like, the only reason we save money into our 401k or a Roth IRA or those kind of things is to go spend it and to go invest it in something else. And so what a fun way to then take what we saved for, what we built for, and reinvest it in something that's going to keep us active, keep us enjoying things, and that, right, you might win a prize for, win a medal for, and have some recognition of your hard-earned fruits and labor. And to be able to do that with a community that's similar age, similar passions, those kind of things, just seems fantastic to me. And that's why I wanted to have you on. I'm sure you've just seen and could tell story after story of things like that from the games.
For sure. One of the things you mentioned, the social aspect and the importance of staying connected and staying, integrated. Our athletes tell us, time and time again, that they come to the games initially because they heard about the games, they wanted the competition, but they come back because of the camaraderie and the friendships and the relationships. So there really is something special about senior and master sports that just, it creates a sense of family. People really consider coming to the games in October kind of like a family reunion. We hear that phrase over and over again. And that social connection is so important. And there's a wide variety of ways to do that. Sports is certainly not the only way that happens, but it is one of the ways, and it's a great way. And we really try to foster that during the event here. So we have the competition, which just of itself lends very easily and perfectly to the social aspect in the ways that you said. You come with family, you come with friends, you got a doubles partner, you got a team. The people that you compete against become your friends and extended family as well. But then we also have social events that go along with it. So we have our opening ceremonies, we have a concert and celebration, we have what we call our friendship festival, which is just an opportunity for people to come together and just relax and socialize off the field of competition, regardless of sport, and just come and create those, like you said, those lifelong bonds and those lifelong friendships. So the social aspect, the health aspect, the overall wellness aspect is really big for us.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of those stories and the things that you hear, and what, like, any favorite stories that you can think of that have come out of the games that you want to just share quick for people so they can get kind of an idea of what they'd be in for?
Oh man, there's so many stories. I could just go on and on and on. Let me just share two quick ones. One of my very favorite stories that actually happened, I believe it was my second year here at the games, and this is my 17th year, so I've been here for a while. I could tell you lots of stories, but I met one gentleman who was swimming, and I was over at the pool, and I happened to just be standing at the scorer's table, and he had asked for a printout of his times. And he was looking it over, and he actually had a question about the lap counters, and he wasn't sure if he had swam the right number of laps. So it just kind of a scenario that happens in a swim meet, and he was just reviewing it. And we got it all sorted out. He actually had swam the right number of laps, and everything was fine. Everything was kosher. But he had that score sheet, and he asked the official if he could keep the score sheet. And the official said, of course you can. And since I was standing there, I just said, so you're going to take that home and kind of brag to your friends about the time that you got in this 1500 race that you just swam? And he was like, no, I'm actually going to take this home and show it to my doctor. And I was like, show it to your doctor? Why? He said, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, it must have been, he had to have a pacemaker put in. And the doctor said, we're going to put this pacemaker in, and it's going to affect your mobility, and there's going to be things that you can't do. You're maybe going to have to give up swimming. And he's like, that's non-negotiable. You need to put it over in a different place. You need to recenter it. You need to do something different because I can't give up swimming. And so they made whatever accommodations that they needed to. They put it in there. It's working perfectly. But he wanted to go back and show the doctor that he was able to continue to swim and to swim successfully. And I thought, for me, I felt like, what a perfect example of what active aging is, and not giving up, and just keeping a focused mindset of what it is that you actually want to accomplish and what you want your life to be. And I've always remembered that story. I think I'll always remember it. Just a great example of a perfect example of a gentleman who really wanted to go on and keep doing the things that he loved to do, and made sure that he was able to do that. Love that story. Then the second one that I wanted to share again very quickly is my mom's story. When I first started working with the games, I started working on both of my parents. You got to pick a sport. You got to pick a sport. You're eligible, come and do it. And after, I don't know, several years of I'm too busy, I'm not in shape, all the excuses that we use, I finally convinced my mom to sign up for a 5K race. And she told me, I'll sign up, and worst case scenario, I'll walk. It's like, I know I can at least do this event. And it's worth noting too, for my mom, like, she just never had any opportunities to compete in organized sports as a kid. When she was a young lady, they didn't have high school sports. It just wasn't available to her. So she grew up, she excelled in a number of other things. She's a fantastic piano player. She was a great mom. She spent all of her mother years running around after 6 kids that were very involved in sports. So, she had a lot of good things going for her, but she never had the opportunity to be an athlete herself. So she comes to the first day, the first race, and this is her very first race ever. She's never competed in a race before. And I remember, it's just clear as day, Freeman. I'll always remember this. My mom is standing there in, like, I don't know, like, I guess you would call them clam diggers, or like, I call them culottes. They're very long shorts. I think they're made out of denim. She had a very long, baggy T-shirt on, and she was standing right next. They call the racers up, and my mom, not being an athlete, didn't know that the fast racers go to the front of the line, and the slower racers generally congregate at the back. She didn't know. She was called to the starting line, so she walked right up to the starting line. She was standing right next to a woman that had, like, racer goggles on, and she had a sports bra and like a kind of a briefs that she was running, like they wear at the Olympics. And here was my mom standing right next to her. And I thought, this is a perfect mental picture of what's going on right now. Anyway, they fired the gun, and of course all the runners went out, and then, eventually they all came back, and my mom crossed the finish line. And Freeman, we were so excited and proud of her. She had never had this opportunity, and here was her very first time that she'd ever done it. So I come up to her and I'm like, Mom, how did it feel? Like, what was that like? And she said, I loved it. It was actually pretty fun. But I will say that I got out on the course, and everybody started to spread out a little bit. And she just ended up behind an 85-year-old gentleman. And she said, I got there behind him, and I didn't want to pass him because it just felt rude. And so I just stayed running along behind him all the way through the race. I said, Mom, it's a race. That's the point. Like, you're supposed to pass people. That's why we're here. She said, I know. Of course, I know that. But she also said, you know what, Kyle, I'm going to come back next year, and I'm not just going to participate, but I'm going to actually race. And so she went home and she did practice, and she was diligent with it, man. She woke up every morning. She would go to our church, where I went to church when I was a kid, and she would run around the gymnasium. She had paced off how many steps, how many laps she had to run to be 3.1 miles. She came back the next year. She was excited and ready to go because she had now prepared herself. And the pistol fight, this time she was a little bit more athletically dressed. She had a little more form-fitting athlete shirt. She had some leggings on.
No
She was
denim.
ready to go. Yeah, she had some tennis shoes. She was set. She was ready to go. The pistol fired. She goes out, and we knew that she had put the time in. And so as a family, we were kind of congregating around the finish line, hoping that she would, maybe, cross your fingers, win a medal in her age group. And so we were very interested as the first age group in her age group started to cross the line. The first lady comes across. Of course, it's not my mom, but that's okay. There's still 2 medals left. The next lady comes across, and there's nothing wrong with a bronze medal. Then the third place lady comes across, and we're like, it's about the experience. It's not about medals. And anyway, we're going along, and of course, I'm in charge of the event, so I get called away to set up some tables and chairs for a social event. I come back to the finish line just in time to watch a lady come around the corner of these bushes. She just came around the bushes, and she was just like, I don't know how to describe it except for to say she just seemed like she was in trouble. Her knees had locked out. She couldn't bend her knees. She was bent over double at the waist. And I thought, she's going to fall. She was just staggering. So as an event organizer, I ran over there to help her so she wouldn't, fall down and hurt herself. And I was about 3 feet away from her when I realized that lady was my mom. And I'll tell you, I have never been more proud or terrified in my entire life. I couldn't believe she had given everything that she had to this race, but I'd also never seen my mom in a state like this before, So I grabbed her by the arm, and she was cold and clammy and sweaty. I mean, Freeman, she had given everything that she had, everything. And I was like, Mom, you made it. You made it. You're right here. There's the finish line right there. And she looked up and she saw that big inflatable banner that said finish. And she went, boom, and elbowed me right in the chest. And she took off on her own power, and she crossed that finish line all by herself. And, of course, she got some oranges and some water and some Gatorade, and she was fine. Like, she just had depleted her energy stores. But to me, it was, again, just another example of what is available if we allow ourselves to get out of our comfort zone just a little bit, which for my mom, this was definitely out of her comfort zone, and to just give it a shot. And then just to wrap it up, I know it's a little bit of a long story, but just to wrap it up, that became kind of a launching point for my mom. So she continued to run, and she now considers herself an athlete. And she's come back multiple times to the games, and she's even won gold medals because of her training and her, now she's kind of got it dialed in, and she's figured it out. She told me, I didn't dare pass anybody the first time that I ran. So the second time I ran, I was just chasing everybody down. Like, it didn't matter. I was going after them. And she just used everything that she had to get there. But now she's got it dialed in, and she's a pretty successful runner, and she's become an athlete, which is something that maybe she never would have considered up until this later stage in her life. But she's here, she's doing it, and it's awesome. She's become an inspiration and an example to so many people because of that. So just a couple of a million stories that I could tell.
Absolutely. How old was your mom when she started doing that the first year?
So she was 64 that first year that she ran.
Very
And,
cool.
now it's 10, 11 years later, she's in a new age group, a couple of different new age groups, and she keeps, setting the standard for herself and doing her best. And again, it really is about the experience. It's not about the medals, but it never hurts to be able to take one home.
That's right. Well, and again, we've talked about this, right? And then for some people, like, oh man, that just, that sounds like a big time commitment to like be training for all these things and doing that. And again, I would just challenge people that's your mindset, right? Like, as we age, and if we're not intentional about taking care of ourselves, our bodies will break down faster than they need to. And so you can spend time training to feel good and have energy and be able to compete still at any age, or you can spend time in hospital waiting rooms. and
Yeah,
and Medicare, insurance offices, and all these different things. And so, like, where do you want to spend your time, and how do you want to feel the rest of your life when you're doing that? If you're like, oh well, this sounds like maybe a lot of money, and again, you can invest your money in feeling good and in optimal health at any age, or you can spend it on higher insurance premiums, on Medicare
yeah,
supplements, on all these other things. And so it just really becomes, where do you want to spend your time and money on trying to avoid being sick, or do you want to invest your time and money in being well and being strong and feeling good about yourselves? And to, even for someone who's never been an athlete their whole life, to be able to take on that identity in your mid 60s for the first time and then carry it on for years after that, like, what a
yeah.
terrific example and a worthy goal, I think, for anyone listening. So that's
For
fantastic.
sure. And my mom is just one of many, many people. A lot of times people think, oh, I can never do the World Senior Games because I played sports when I was in junior high, but then I didn't do anything for 4 decades or 5 decades. But so many of our athletes either come back to a sport after a long hiatus, or many of them just pick up something new, and then it becomes, again, part of their lifestyle, and it becomes the thing that drives them. And so many benefits. You talk about it's an investment, not an expense. And I think that's such a great concept to keep in mind.
Yeah. So if, let's say, what someone's listening to this, right? They're 51. They're right on the, we kind of, we always talk about here, we're helping folks over 50 to retire successfully and stay successfully retired. So maybe they're right on the bleeding edge of listening to this podcast, and they're thinking, okay, I guess I would technically qualify for that, but man, I haven't done anything active in 4 decades, or maybe my whole life.
Yeah.
Is there any minimum requirement for health, or maybe, like, is that still something, like, still go this October just to, like, get your feet wet and have something to then improve upon the next year? Or, is it start off on a training plan now so that you're ready for 2024? Like, what's the advice there to people who are brand new, or really, hopefully we've inspired somebody, like, yeah, that's right, I do want to be active. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and maybe I need to be healthy and energized instead. What would you tell someone in that situation?
Yeah, so this is obviously a very personal decision that you'd want to make, and you definitely want to make it in consultation with a healthcare provider for sure.
Yeah.
But there are absolutely things that you can come out and do that are maybe a little less physically strenuous. Like, for example, we have horseshoes, we have shuffleboard. So if you want to just come out and get a taste for what the games are about, for what senior sports are about, for what the whole experience of the World Senior Games can be for you, then you can absolutely come on out and maybe participate in one of these slightly less rigorous sports. Now, don't get me wrong. The people who compete in these sports are still, they're experts in their sport oftentimes. So it's not a comment on, well, these are the beginner sports and these are the expert sports. But there are some opportunities if you're just like, hey, I've never even dreamed of anything. I don't think a 5K is for me. I'm pretty sure I can't, get in a swimming suit and swim. Like, that's not for me either. There are some great opportunities, but I would say maybe even better than that. If you're just barely brand new and just thinking, hey, I just want to put my toe in the water, come and be a volunteer. We need about 3,500 volunteers to pull the games together. And many of them are local, but some people do travel just for that opportunity. And if you want to talk about health benefits, there are obviously incredible health benefits to being an athlete, but there are some amazing health benefits to being a volunteer as well. You have less anxiety, depression, heart disease. I mean, many of the benefits that come from being an athlete can also be available to a volunteer. So if you're really just brand new and don't feel like, hey, I'm interested, but I want to see what it's like, the volunteer route might be the way to go. And you can get information and even sign up and register to be a volunteer right on our website. Again, I mentioned it, seniorgames.net, but you can get all the information about both, whether it's an athlete or a sport or volunteering in a certain area. And you don't have to be an expert in a particular sport to be a volunteer either. We have opportunities to volunteer at the sports, but there's also lots of things that go on outside of the sports where you can come and just kind of check it out and get a feel for the event, get inspired by the athletes, and then maybe, put yourself on a training regimen, get a mentor, get a coach, get a trainer that can help you set your goals and then work towards it so that next year you're really prepared and ready to go.
No. Well, I think it's cool too, even just like, so my wife is a big CrossFitter, and so she watched the CrossFit Games, which just happened here, and they have their
Yeah.
masters level things, which are, I think, 50 plus. I'm not sure where theirs breaks off. But again, you see these people that are in like their 60s and 70s, like doing pull-ups and throwing weight up over their heads and running all these
Yeah.
things. It's inspiring to me, right? And so to have an event like that where you can go there, even if you're not ready to compete yet, but see it, again, right, we want to learn, and we want to build belief, and we want to inspire action around here. And so what a better way to inspire choosing an active life than to go see it firsthand. And again, we watch a lot of professional sports or Olympics, and it's all these people in their 20s and 30s, and you're like, oh yeah, that's for those people. And it's not, right? Just because it's not televised doesn't mean that it's only for young people. People, seniors, all these people can participate and be active as well. And so I love that you can volunteer, experience it. I think I heard on your podcast that the opening ceremony, that people can come to that and really experience. That's a
Absolutely.
whole party and experience in and of itself. And so yeah, if you're listening to this and you're wanting to travel, you're thinking of doing some travel and some vacation, and you're thinking of just sitting around on your butt doing nothing, maybe challenge yourself to, hey, flying to Vegas, right? That's usually cheap. Flights are cheap there from almost anywhere. So go up to the games, experience that, volunteer, and maybe make that part of your journey to being more active and more healthy, and investing more of your time and money into your life and enjoy.
I think it's a great way to go. I think it's a great way to go.
What's the best way to either get involved in the games, to be an athlete, or to volunteer? I think you mentioned already seniorgames.net, but is that just the first place to go, or is there somewhere better?
Yeah, no, that's the best place. We've got all the information that you need for whatever your interest level is. Whether it's an athlete, individual sport, team sport, whatever, volunteer. If you just want to be inspired, we've got a lot of great articles there, and stories, and of course links to our own podcast as well, The Active Life, that we do every week. So yeah, seniorgames.net. And that's all one word, seniorgames.net. All the information that you can need to know about the games, and then also opportunities to register either as a volunteer or as an athlete if you're interested in that as well. And we'd love to have you come out. It's just a great, like I said, great family reunion. We'd love to have you be part of our family.
Awesome. And you mentioned too, just the podcast and stuff. You do have a weekly podcast. I think you can find that anywhere podcasts are available. What was that podcast called again?
It's called the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life.
Perfect.
And yeah, it's available on all the platforms. And again, just a great way to kind of keep that inspiration going. We have a wide variety of guests. Freeman, we've had you on our show before talking about the crossover between health and wellness, and physically as well as financially. We've had former Olympic athletes. We have some of our own athletes. We have trainers, healthcare professionals, all kinds of different ways to learn more about how to live your best life, and then apply those and really get after it and get it done. So yeah, check that out as well. Links on our website to the podcast too, seniorgames.net.
Perfect. And we'll have links to both seniorgames.net and to your podcast right in the show notes of this podcast. Or if you're viewing this on the blog, it'll be right in there too. So you can just go there and find quick links straight out to them. And yeah, right. So, that's why I love having Kyle on, right? We're definitely not competitors. This is a very much an alignment of physical health and financial health coming together. And so, this is encouraging to you guys, or intriguing or inspiring. Go listen to their podcast. I've listened to a bunch of episodes. It's great. And it's a great way to stay connected and stay inspired to live that active life all the way through, right? And I mean, how would you say you have athletes in their 80s, right? So it's not even just for people 50 to 55.
Oh, yeah, even older than that. Last year we had 100-year-old swimmers. Charlotte Sandel is her name. She's from Wyoming. She's just an incredible individual, and she swam at 100 years old. We have plenty of athletes that are in their 90s, so we'll take you on up to whatever age. Just it doesn't have to be limiting. Your age doesn't have to limit you.
And lastly, I know I have some listeners that are not 50 plus that somehow tune in, which is great. Glad to have you, even though we're kind of pushing that upper demographic. But if you're not 50 plus, that means your parents are probably 50 plus. And so maybe do like Kyle did, and then, send this episode, send Active Life to your parents and say, hey, what a great way to inspire and help your parents or someone else older to get involved as well. So always a way that we can come together to help one another out. So Kyle,
Absolutely.
It's been awesome having you on today. I appreciate you taking some time to tell us about the Senior Games. Appreciate all of your work that you're putting into that. What a great event. And I hope that a bunch of these listeners take action and get involved in any way they can. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Freeman. It's been a real pleasure. It's been fun to visit with you.
You too. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed that.
I really enjoyed that conversation with him. In fact, I was actually on his podcast as well and enjoyed that conversation with him. So if you want to check out more about the Senior Games, again, that's seniorgames.net. You can also go to retirementorship.com/127. That will be the blog for this episode here. So it'll have the video in there. It'll have all the links out to seniorgames.net and to the Active Life podcast that they run. They're much farther in their podcast than I am. It seems like a lot of great stuff. I listen to a bunch of those. And I'm actually guessing on his podcast as well. It might be coming out the same day as this one is, or maybe next week. I'm not exactly sure. But that'll be a good one to do. And one of the things that we talk about in that podcast is some other healthy money moves that you can make with your finances. And so we're going to talk about that next week, making this a little two-parter on, again, just investing in your health, doing smart things with your money that also help your health, and doing smart things with your health that also help with your money. So we'll see you next week with that episode. I hope you have a great week. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did enjoy that, you would love being a part of our free membership community. It's called Retire Membership, and you can sign up today completely for free. When you do that, you get a host of bonus and exclusive content that we don't give out anywhere else. For example, you can buy my book, 3D Retirement Income, on Amazon, but if you become a Retire member, we will send you one for free or give you the audiobook and ebook just for signing up. You also get additional bonus content, exclusive content, including Client Corner insights from some of the best minds in behavioral investing, workbooks to go along with our workshops to help you get the most out of it, and more ongoing bonus and exclusive content. Some of this you can't get anywhere else, and so we would love for you to join our community. You can join now at retiremembership.com. Otherwise, there's a link in the description of this video where you can sign up. All we want to do is continue to give you the best information out there so that you can retire successfully and stay successfully retired. So you can go in there, do that on our website. There's also a longer form podcast. I think it's episode 80 that will help explain what it is and what we're trying to do with Retire Membership. But join now for free. Get this and much more exclusive content by joining us today. We look forward to seeing you there, and thanks for watching. Cheers. If you enjoyed that, you would love being part of our free membership community. It's called Retire Membership, and it has a host of benefits, all for free. For example, you can always buy my book, 3D Retirement Income, on Amazon. But if you join us at Retire Membership, we will send you either a hard copy or paperback for free, provide the ebook and the audiobook so that you can listen to it if you don't have time to read it. In addition to that, we'll also provide you with a bunch of content that you can't get anywhere else. For example, we have our quarterly Retire Mentorship magazine, which comes out quarterly and has no ads whatsoever. It's just timely content to help you stay the course. We also have workbooks for our free online workshop to help you get the most out of those, flowcharts to help you make better decisions, and a weekly email to provide timely content that you can unsubscribe from at any time. We never ask for any payment information, and we never share your information with anyone else. We just want to provide timely content and help you stay the course to retire successfully and stay successfully retired. There's no reason to wait, so join us now at retiremembership.com, where you can click in the link in the description and it'll go right there. We can't wait to see you in the community. Cheers. This podcast is educational only and is not investment, tax, or legal advice.